Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder and this is BRN AM for Thursday, January 14th, 2021. And here are our top stories: maintaining employee benefits data privacy and locating missing participants and beneficiaries. Well, joining me now to discuss this and more is Kevin Walsh. He's a principal with Groom Law Group, an employee benefits law firm based in Washington, D.C. Kevin, Happy New Year. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us on the program this morning.
Happy New Year, Jeff. It's always good to be on your show. I think we've got a busy agenda today, with tomorrow being Data Privacy Day and with the new missing participant guidance that came out last.
And I know I want to get to that, one of your favorite topics, but I also think data privacy is one of yours and David Levine's favorite topics. Let's talk about Data Privacy Day because it's an important day. We all want to maintain our data privacy, but there is a relationship to Data Privacy Day and employee benefits. What can you tell us, Kev?
So yeah, there is a connection between data privacy and employee benefits. And, as we look at what's gone on in Europe and then, in California, we've seen that there's been an increased focus on, data privacy, which is, as an individual, who's collecting my data, how are they using it, and who are they sharing it with? So those are kind of the three big things with data right now. And there's been an increased awareness or discomfort that, people don't totally understand what's being done. And that's led to legislation like CCPA or CPRA, which now replaced it as of the initiative in November, and then GDPR in Europe, where there's been efforts by regulators to clamp down on how data can be used. And that's something where, we craft rules that are focused on the tech industry. But, David and I we're benefits attorneys, and we're worried about some of the spillover effect. So in the retirement space, we see data used all the time. If we're going to connect somebody with their benefits, we need to know who they are and where they live at a minimum. We also need to know what the benefit they're entitled to is. So we've got to be able to collect data in the retirement system if it's going to function. But there's also been, some outgrowths of that where, if we look at the development of benefits, it started off as, retirement benefits, and then we've added health benefits. And employees, particularly during a pandemic or with the uncertainty we're seeing, are looking to their employer for help with more things. So, can I provide assistance as an employer with student loans? Can I help someone understand, how their, credit card debt could be better managed? And to do those things, I'm collecting data to provide retirement benefits. I'm collecting data to make payroll. But, if I'm going to provide helpful benefits that, the evolution of benefits from just retirement to retirement and health to kind of a holistic financial wellness, if we're going to complete that evolution, employers, service providers, and others, they need to be able to use that data, or they need to be able to collect data. Otherwise, if I don't know your picture, Jeff, if I don't know, what your financial picture looks like, then I can't give you, I can't make good recommendations to you about how we could get you on more secure footing. So I think that's the tension is between, we want privacy rules generally, and we want them to be robust, but we also want to encourage innovation in the benefit space.
You bring up a really good point, Kevin, and I wonder, it just seems like the pendulum either swings one way or the other way, and right now it's kind of swinging to a point where we don't want, we want complete and utter privacy, but you make some really good points as it relates to the viability of, people being able to use some of these products like financial wellness. Does some of these more onerous rules, does it actually discourage potential use by employers if they're worried about being sued or litigated against, which I guess is the same thing. I was trying to use a bigger word, but is it something that really can discourage the use of these programs, which ultimately can harm the individual, right? It can harm the employee, right? Because a lot of employees have said, they've been on the record in surveys and said, we expect our employer to provide us with some level of service. So could this be a discouragement for those employers?
So it could become a discouragement, and we were really worried about that in California as they went through their initiative under CCPA and then under CPRA. But in discussions that I've had with regulators and legislators, they understand that, retirement benefits are different than, internet searching. So we've been successful in working with regulators to craft rules that recognize the unique situation of the employee benefit framework. At the same time, we need to be mindful that California is just one state, and that other initiatives are ongoing, and that in each initiative, the case for employee benefits needs to be made over again. And then we also need to be mindful that when we craft solutions in the employee benefit space, we don't craft solutions for yesterday's benefits. It would be tragic if we crafted benefits that worked solely for 401k plans, or that worked only for defined benefit pension plans. We want to provide solutions that are future proof, so that when COVID strikes, and people need to look holistically at their savings, their ability to take increased distributions from 401k plans, their ability to put student loan payments on hold, that employers can help them balance those different liquidity sources to help get them through challenges.
Kevin, you and your firm represent a lot of different components of the retirement industry. You work with plan sponsors, you work with service providers. Are there any best practices or things that really come to mind as you're out talking to these interested parties about how to manage this process? I mean, how do you write good contracts with your service providers? Do you need to make proper attention to data and use of data? Do you need to what do you need to disclose to participants? What are some of the takeaways? And I don't want to put you on the spot, and you're not giving free legal advice here, but just some takeaways that people who are out in the audience can think about when it relates to their plan or their account.
So I'm loath to use terms like best practices, because in this space, it's not really a one size fits all. The needs of employees at a very small startup may be different than those of a law firm. They might be different at a massive Fortune 500 company still. Depending on your demographics, depending on education backgrounds, depending on a whole host of factors, different programs, systems, and protections might be important. But one thing that I talk about with plan sponsors, in terms of staying on the ball here, and it's just a thought, and it's something that I think is generally worth doing, is that it might be worth reaching out to your service providers and understanding what data is being collected, because just a starting point of making employees comfortable is being able to be in a position where you can say, here's what we have and here's what we're doing with it. I think that the big fear and the big fear on the part of individuals is that it's this big data, and it's big data in the abstract. It's an unknown, and if employers can take steps to try to make the unknown a little less unknown, it can go a long way towards helping employees understand that these things really are designed to be beneficial.
Yeah, and look, you should never paint with a broad brush. I think that we've obviously all understand that there are different pockets and different types of employers and different types of sponsors and different types of service providers. Really good points. Well, Kevin, I want to take a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about one of Kevin's very favorite topics, and that is missing participants, or at least locating missing participants. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Hi folks, Joe Namath here, and if you're on Medicare, this is important. You're now entitled to eliminate copays and get dental care, dentures, eyeglasses, prescription coverage, in-home aids, unlimited transportation, and home-delivered meals, all at no additional cost. Plus, your zip code may have coverage with the Give Back benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. Look, with the uncertainty of the virus and vaccines, you need to get everything you're entitled to. Here's the bottom line. Call to get significant benefits at no additional cost and see if your zip code has coverage with the Give Back benefit. Millions of people have trusted the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You can too. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-924-3920. That's 1-800-924-3920.
Welcome back. We're talking to Kevin Walsh of the Groom Law Group. Kevin, thanks for staying with us this morning.
Oh, Jeff, it's always good being on the show.
Pleasure is all ours. Kevin, let's jump right in because I know your time is very limited. Got a lot of commitments. But let's talk about missing participants. This is a passion topic for you. Locating missing participants and beneficiaries. What's the latest here?
So, last night, or if this comes out on the 13th, which it probably won't, but so on January 12th, the Labor Department released new subregulatory guidance that talks about missing participants. And that guidance both describes what an investigation looks like. It also describes what DOL believes to be best practices are. And I know in the last segment, I said I loathe the term best practices, but when you're the government, you get to use the term best practices.
Sure.
And what this does is it's going to provide some insight for employers in terms of figuring out what the Labor Department's actually trying to get them to do in terms of locating missing participants. They have identified, red flags would be if you have a whole lot of individuals who you don't have birth dates listed for, or if you have a whole bunch of bad addresses, or if you don't have a process for converting returned mail into a need to search. So they've come out and a lot of the things that they're describing here, it's nice to see on paper, at least publicly, because there are things that we've traditionally only heard DOL ask folks to do one-on-one in an investigation. So it's great from a notice standpoint that they're doing this. On the other hand, what's pretty surprising is there aren't many cites to ERISA in it again. So one could be concerned about what their basis for a lot of these are. On the other hand, I know I'm on my third hand now. A key to this is they've really laid out things that plan sponsors and plan fiduciaries would want to think about doing. And they include steps that we've talked about before. Are you doing free internet searches? Are you using a paid commercial locator? Are you sorting your returned mail to figure out who you should be looking for? Are you periodically auditing your census file? Just to have an idea as to, if we try to punch holes in this, is it as good as it looks? And then some of them are a little, I don't want to say zany or out there, but they also suggest, and this goes back to the privacy segment, I guess. They say that a plan fiduciary should consider reaching out to the former employee's coworkers to ask if the former employees' coworkers know where the individual lives to update their information. So on the whole, DOL signaling, take a lot of effort, really try to find these people. And I agree with the idea that the retirement system only works if we're able to pay people the benefits that are due to them. On the other hand, we just talked about privacy in the last segment. It seems a little off the wall to reach out to former employees' colleagues or former employees' former colleagues in the hope of tracking them down. I for a certain dollar amount, maybe that makes sense, but I might view that as a little invasive if people reach out to all my former colleagues.
Yeah, Kevin, I think the key takeaways here, you need a process as an employer to at least do some level of research. This guidance will provide, obviously, guidance in that direction. But it also, I'll just wrap up with this last question. I mean, for those people that are in retirement plans, that are in a pension plan, that move employers, those people need to be updating their address with their previous employer, need to think about what assets they have in different 401k plans too. Just don't rely on the employer to do that.
Well, and DOL drives home kind of one of the key points, which is that the easiest way to locate missing participants is to not let them go missing or not have them go missing in the first place. And employees and participants can really help with that by updating their addresses when they move, and by, if they've got online access to accounts, using that online access. So Jeff, you made a great point. And employers can help, but participants themselves can be very helpful here because typically a participant knows where they live.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, really appreciate it. Know you're under the gun, got a lot of time commitments. Want to thank you for joining us on the program. Thanks so much. We look forward to talking to you again very soon. And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest or someone you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the information in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, all in one place, check out today's edition of The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.